Yeah, of course. I think the infantilization is a big one, and even kind of thinking about the ineptness of the bandit, or this kind of idea of the bandido as being kind of not very intelligent but violent, and even thinking back to the era of the 30s, like the way Hollywood portrayed Pancho Villa, not as kind of a smart strategist or a military figure, but as kind of like an illiterate, like a bumbling illiterate who just happened to lead an army somehow. Um, and doesn't necessarily explain that paradox. But essentially, he's a child who just kind of stumbles into this thing. But that kind of, I definitely see that thread, this kind of infantilization. But even in terms of something more recent, and this kind of recent trend that I've noticed with like comedy shows or like late night shows with someone like Guillermo on Conan, not Conan, Guillermo on Jimmy Kimmel, who's kind of like this bumbling buffoon, seen as kind of like childlike, not very savvy, slightly inept and kind of ridiculous, right? Or Chewy on Chelsea is the other one. That's kind of like this sidekick that is maybe not necessarily infantilized in terms of character, but in terms of his size and his position within the show, and the way she kind of addresses him, right, is kind of as comedic just for being who he is. He doesn't really have to say much, right? So Chewy is a good example. This link between Latinos and food, on the one hand, food being kind of like one of the celebrated contributions of Latino culture to the world, to the United States, and on the other hand, this kind of association with like bodies and food and sexuality. So fruit in many cases, but also this kind of this spiciness or this fieriness, right? That's kind of presumed about the Latino character in terms of both temper and sexuality, right? So, of course, my favorite example is always Dancing with the Stars, where I kind of always, as much as I like to watch the show sometimes, I always cringe because I know it's coming, right? In terms of that kind of fieriness or sexiness. But even the way stars have been talked about, and from, again, like the 30s to the present day, if you read profiles of Salma Hayek, or if you read profiles of Lupe Velez from the 1930s, a lot of them are like, pepper this and spicy that and fiery. And so it's kind of strange to me the way that's become just common parlance or kind of an assumption that doesn't even get questioned. That like Entertainment Weekly would not say to themselves, maybe we shouldn't write this sentence, right? Or maybe we shouldn't describe her in this way. But that's just become so completely acceptable.